I'm doing something that I really don't want to do and it's making me feel terrible, but it's for a greater cause. And there's certainly something to be said about being able to sit with your discomfort.
And meditation, breathwork, any sort of mindfulness practice, it gives you so much back. And I speak to coaches all the time. I can't focus, I can't pay attention.
As most people watching this will know, there is a consequential estrogenic outcome from HCG. I get immediate mood disturbances, sleep disturbances, everything feels bad. I want you to look at this phone. Now I want you to look at this bottle, really focus on it. Now I want you to really focus on both of them at exactly the same time. It's impossible, yeah? I've had friends that have been on fertility protocols that have then stopped and then their partners got pregnant. Yo guys, good morning. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is. When you is it?
It's technically the morning
I don't know where I've got that from, but I've got it from somewhere. Whatever it is, when you are watching this video, I hope it is a pleasant one. Anyway, as usual, I'm joined by co-founder of Physique Collective, Mr. Strong. Mr. Strong just sounds better than Matt Strong.
Just a Mr. Man.
Mr. Strong.
Yeah. You ever seen the Mr. Man, yeah. Mr. Strong?
Yeah, I've got a mug with Mr.
Just
Strong.
a square. All I got when I was a kid was that.
Yeah, he does look like you.
Big red. It's my blood pressure. It eats eggs.
Yeah, he needs some Thomas out. Anyway, today we are going to talk about, as usual, the hot topics, the stuff that we've been coming across in the industry or the social media landscape most frequently recently, or whatever the most sort of asked questions we've had of us. We'll go through there so that hopefully it's able to assist anybody watching this that obviously doesn't get that information outside of the app, if you're not on the app, or outside of our private consultation work, things like that. So I wanted to start this one off with the most common issue that I've been seeing.
I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to do a quick shout out for the t-shirts.
Oh yeah, please do.
We got the new t-shirts. So these are new Physique Collective tees. I think Joe and I are the only people to have them. We will be doing a limited edition drop of these and some cut-off vests. And it's a t-shirt studio. Don't want to get that wrong. Tommy at the t-shirt studio sent these out. They are fucking beautiful. Really nice, soft cotton. We're not being paid to say this. They're just fucking mint. And yeah, we'll be dropping these fairly soon. But yeah, shout out Tommy. Shout out t-shirt. Can't say it.
The t-shirt studio.co on Instagram. I repeat, the t-shirt studio.co on Instagram. The best clothing company that I've ever had the pleasure of working with. Same thing with my wife. He's looked after Compact and done some real big jobs for them. And he's always come through. The quality, the fit, the print, everything is 10 out of 10.
And I coach him, and he's an absolute G.
There you go. So, sounds like he's paying us for this.
I wish he was.
But that's a genuine shout out. Anyway, back to the point. So one of the most common ailments, issues that I'm having with consultation clients at the moment is within the realms of fertility treatment. Literally had somebody yesterday and had two more earlier in the week. It's only Thursday. And we're talking about managing estrogen on HCG. And I mentioned this to Matt and he said, yeah, that's a really common one with his clients as well. So we could talk a bit about that. A lot of it comes from what I would call the excessive dosing of HCG in terms of the amount that they're dosing at any one time, and also the frequency of the injections is going to play a role in this. Just like with your testosterone, more frequent injections will lead to more stable blood serum and less peaks and troughs in estradiol. So as most people watching this will know, there is a consequential estrogenic outcome from HCG. Just to put it into some actual numbers, of course, individuality exists, but I had some blood work done on no HCG, and my estradiol was 140 pmol, and then 125 units of HCG per day, what's considered an extremely low dose for most people, pushed my estradiol up to 250, so 110 pmol increase. And that's not like a peak reading because I was dosing every day at the same time. So, and that was with 4 weeks of dosing 125 units a day. So it has a robust impact on estrogen. And the increase on testosterone, at least in my experience, is statistically insignificant. My testosterone didn't move at all on the introduction of HCG, and I rarely see it move on clients' blood work. I mean, technically, stimulating LH will push up intratesticular testosterone, but it's the estrogenic conversion that seems to be the biggest issue. So what I'll say is that you'll note that that dose seems quite low, 125 units per day. And a lot of people will start at 500 units a day, 1,000 units a day. I've seen up to 5,000 units every other day. Serious doses. So why do we use HCG? It's not, I would hesitate to call it an LH mimetic. It's not recombinant LH, but it does stimulate LH. That's its primary vector, but it's not going to show up on blood work as LH. It's not bioidentical LH like recombinant LH is. Recombinant LH would be a better option, but we don't really have access to that much beyond what is in HMG. We can come to that later. So to get sufficient stimulus to LH, as little as 125 units a day is fine for most people. At 250 units a day, you're basically maximizing LH response. At 500, you definitely are, but I would hesitate to say that, or I wouldn't hesitate to say that, pretty much nobody would need more than 250 units per day, as long as they're using either HMG or recombinant FSH alongside. Because why do we sometimes need these higher doses of HCG? It's because there is a spillover onto FSH that it will create. But that seems to be a real poor option, in my opinion, for the cost. The cost of getting some degree of FSH stimulus from really high dose HCG, my recommendation would be not to do that, because it's very, very difficult to control the estrogen at those kind of dosages.
The only time you'd consider that is just availability of HMG,
Yes.
which can be very difficult to source it for some people. I mean, I know you had a problem for a while trying to source it.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that's why you should just mega dose HCG, but that would be a consideration if you just couldn't get hold of it.
Yeah.
And that was the only option you had available to you.
Yeah, and it does get very difficult to manage at those kind of doses. Most people these days are staying on TRT when they use HCG and HMG. So then you've got a compounding effect. So you've got the testosterone, of course, from your TRT. You've also got the consequential estradiol from the aromatization of a portion of that testosterone. So that's your kind of genetically expressed A to E ratio. The 99.999% of men are going to be absolutely fine tolerating estrogenic conversion from just TRT, but then you're basically layering on just sheer estrogen. And the A to E ratio skew is very difficult to manage. It doesn't happen to everybody, but for some people it can be real
Tends to
hard.
happen to a lot higher percentage than you otherwise think, because it tends to be pretty common for most like fertility clinics to just as like kind of the second nature is go, yep, if you're going to be on TRT, take HCG. But I would go as far to say probably about 40% of guys that I speak to are dealing with these issues.
Yeah, it seems to be about a third of people, and I think Dave Lee said the same, about a third of people like really can't tolerate HCG. I'm definitely one of those people. I get immediate mood disturbances, sleep disturbances. Everything feels bad on HCG. And I don't know whether that's sheerly down to estrogen or because we have HCG like receptors in the brain and things like that. I don't know. I can't wait for the day that I don't have to use it. But that comes to the question of, do you need to use HCG with TRT? Oh, the answer is absolutely no. The answer is absolutely no. And there's just no reason to. All of the high quality data that we've got on TRT is in absence of HCG. You don't need it. It's an upsell from TRT companies. Yeah. That is for sure. So if you haven't got fertility goals, just don't use it.
I also think it's probably worth mentioning about the estrogen values that you gave earlier. So typically, if you've heard any of our stuff before, we're not really concerned with people on anabolic, so super physiological dosages. Dagger's just trying to come in. He almost got the door then.
Yeah.
Jesus. It's like a velociraptor from Jurassic Park. We're not too concerned about estrogen numbers as we go into that super physiological range, just because you're your test numbers or your total androgens are going to be so high, looking at your estrogen number in isolation doesn't really give you too much data. The numbers Joe was giving was he was in the physiological range of testosterone, and then he's seeing his estrogen numbers rise. That's when those values would be useful to note, especially alongside Joe was dealing with the subjective issues. So he's going, I feel like shit. I'm going to see the difference between these bloods, and there is a difference. And you can draw like some inferment from that, which is why we're talking about the values specifically, and just showing it does have an effect. I wouldn't recommend anyone just go away and say, oh, my estrogen values have gone up, whatever. We've covered this a bunch. We're talking about in TRT and seeing that cause a significant increase, which has led to subjective issues.
Yeah, if there's symptomologies, for sure. Like, I would never, and I have never said, just run your estrogen as high as possible. I've always said let it run as high as you can tolerate within the context of your overall stack design. So, you know, and that's always down to the androgen-estrogen ratio. My test was like 25 nmol, so, you know, kind of upper quartile of the range, and then estradiol being over double the top of the reference range. It's pretty indicative that we're going to have an issue. Some people won't. If you don't have symptomologies there and you feel good, then more power to you. That's perfect. Sorry, dog's trying to break in. He will give up. So anyway, we come back to this point of managing estrogen on HCG, and you've got a few options. Very first thing, of course, is to make sure that you're only dosing appropriately for what you need. I always try to approach fertility protocols with clients in a stepwise fashion. So rather than starting on 500 units per day plus your TRT, have your baseline sperm analysis done. Firstly, if you get that baseline done, I literally had this with a client the other day who wanted to come down to TRT and start a fertility protocol. I literally had a consultation with them yesterday, and they got their just baseline sperm analysis done, and they're extremely fertile.
Don't
So it's fine.
Thing,
Yeah, fine, absolutely fine. So they don't need to do anything. Great, perfect. If you do, see sort of where you are. If you're at nil, yeah, it might take some time and whatnot. You're going to have to commit time, and a small dose of HCG might not be sufficient, but a slow stepwise fashion. You know, you wouldn't go in at 3 grams of gear. Similarly, you don't want to go straight in at 1,000 units of HCG a day and 150 units of HMG. Just start with the 125 units per day. And you can layer in some HMG on that as well, maybe 75 units every other day. Wait 12 weeks, because you really need a 12-week cycle for new sperm to, whatever you would call it, generate, whatever the word would be. Grow. And then get a test done there. Because, you know, I've made this mistake because I know what it's like and I know better. But when you're under pressure, like, you know, getting older, you know, we need to hurry up with this and that. And it didn't get me anywhere. It got me into side effect city, and I had to pull back down in the end, and felt terrible for a long time before I isolated the course. So, like I say, LH stimulus from HCG is great, but I wouldn't recommend using it for that spillover into FSH, or you're really going to get into concerns with estrogen. So let's say that we're microdosing HCG on a daily basis, 250 units a day, and you've analyzed your sperm sample, you know that's necessary. Let's say that you're also using 75 units of HMG. So what is HMG? Because HMG isn't the molecule in and of itself. It's recombinant LH and it's recombinant FSH. So you are getting both sides of the equation with HMG. Technically, you could just use HMG alone. You never see that happen, but you can do that. And straight up recombinant LH and recombinant FSH is way better than HCG, for sure. Which is why I tend to recommend that, or recombinant FSH, but that seems to be kind of gold dust. So yeah, let's say that you're covering your LH with HCG, you're covering your FSH with HMG, and you're on TRT, and you're still having estrogen issues. I'm going to say what I've done with clients and what I know other people have done. Matt Tofton is one of them, actually. He was open with this, and I was glad he was, because I was like, okay, maybe I'm a bit more confident talking about this now. Let's say you have a total androgen load that you know is sufficient for you to reach blood androgen level that you know is sufficient for you at TRT. So let's say it's 150 milligram for most people, you know, round about that. But from just testosterone, your estradiol is too high. Let's go and put him inside. Sorry, guys, we have a rogue German shepherd trying to open the door. Anyway, so you need 150 milligrams of total androgens, reaching the androgen receptor to do all the things that, TRT does, but you need less contribution to estrogen. You can absolutely manipulate your stack design with the use of DHT derivatives. There's nothing inherent about DHT derivatives that will shift down spermatogenesis more so than exogenous testosterone would. Also, to be said, though, I don't actually know where the limit of total milligrams of exposure would be for recombinant LH and FSH not to work, because you are synthetically driving it. I've seen people run fertility protocols on 300 milligram, 500 milligram and be successful. I don't know if I'd recommend it, but I'm not sure if there's like solid data to show that actually it wouldn't work. But yeah, within like the schema of your total milligrams required for TRT, you can skew that. So for example, if your estrogen was like off the chart, what I did was just half my testosterone dose and fill the remainder with masteron. So maybe for this individual, that would be 75 milligrams of testosterone, 75 milligrams of masteron. So they've got sufficient androgen exposure for libido and neural function and whatever it may be, sufficient conversion to DHT as well, in absence of estradiol. It's one option, and it's one that I have used with clients, and we have been successful still with fertility outcomes.
Or just take an AI.
You could just take an AI.
I'm not suggesting that's a great shout, by the way.
Well,
but
the question becomes, what's the lesser of two evils? If it's a very acute time, maybe a little 12.5 milligram aromasin twice a week or something. I'd rather go the DHT derivative route, personally.
The only time I would recommend the AI is if it's got to the point it is crippling. Because let's say you use a suicidal inhibitor like exemestane and aromasin, you can buy yourself a bit of time. I think that might be a...
whilst you adjust?
Whilst you adjust it, yeah.
Yeah, that's quite right, because, if your estrogen is really wild, like mine was, I would shift my stack design and was thinking, man, if I put this on steroid plotter, could be another 4 weeks before I'm even just back into the reference range.
That's what I'm saying. Use a suicidal, because then you can just bring yourself back a little bit quicker.
I just grin and bear it, man. Just got on with it. But yeah, you can get yourself in a bad place pretty quickly, and I understand the pressure on men now, because I've been there. Like, it's a really difficult thing to deal with when it's like, okay, I'm doing something that I really don't want to do, and it's making me feel terrible, but it's for a greater cause. And there's certainly something to be said about being able to sit with your discomfort. But there is a point where it's so inhibitory to your life. If you are in estrogen side effect city with like real terrible mood or poor sleep or training performance or neural function, the biggest thing for me was just like this sheer brain fog and just like everything felt irrational and panicked constantly. You're like, I can't work.
But you've also got to add on to the top as well. You've got external pressure. I think you need quite a supportive partner as well, because I think what can happen, and I see this a lot with PED users, is all of a sudden, if you're not able to get pregnant, it's your fault because you took steroids. And I think it requires a very understanding partner, an understanding of the kind of the physiology behind it, which is what I've actually had quite a lot of partners come on to calls, because the person who's taking steroids was like, I want my partner to understand what's actually happening. So we have to have a discussion, because they just think you're taking steroids, you're infertile, which that's like saying I took the contraceptive pill and I'm infertile. Well, transiently, yes. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure from guys, I think. And look, guys are taking steroids is slightly different from the contraceptive pill. There's different reasons, but I think you need your partner to understand. If you're dealing with that pressure in a relationship to put a baby in me with this hormonal milieu that you're absolutely fucked, to use use a pretty basic sense word, but you're not going to feel your best. So it's going to require a good relationship as well.
This is the thing, right? If you are running a fertility protocol, like Matt said, and that's already making you feel bad, so you're feeling bad about yourself, or you're training, all the things that you used to love to do. If you're a bodybuilder, housing that, that's a big stress. And then your partner getting at you, that's a big stress. And what is the single worst thing for fertility? stress, you know. So it's a very difficult scenario. I will say more times than I would think to be just coincidence, I've had friends that have been on fertility protocols that have then stopped and then their partners got pregnant. More times than I care to call coincidence. I was also talking to someone at jiu-jitsu the other day because I was saying, oh yeah, I'm going in. He said, when's your next fertility thing? Funny enough, because I was putting my cup on. And he was like, are you still looking after those balls? I was like, yeah, man, I'm spending a lot of money on HMG, bro. I should probably put this cup on.
Most expensive balls in the country.
And he was saying, man, you know, me and my wife were trying for years, like really trying and seeing doctors and what. This is someone not part of the bodybuilding world, you know, this is just a normal guy. And he said, in the end, we just accepted, sort of surrendered to the fact, to be a bit mindful, surrendered to the fact that this wasn't on the cards for us. And 2 months later, she was pregnant. Because, you know, I know myself, you know, anybody watching this, I know where you are. Like, I know what it feels like. Like, it's really hard. It's hard because a lot of bodybuilder types, this is something that I struggled with. Not to turn this into a psychotherapy session, but I'm sure somebody will relate. It's like everything I've ever tried to do, I've been able to do through sufficient amount of work. You know, everything that I've done, I wanted to build my own gym. Okay, cool. I decided I was going to make the money. I was going to find the kit. I was going to get it in here. I was going to, you know, all of that. I'm only saying that because we're in here. Or I wanted to coach these people. I went and got it. You know, I wanted to get in with RP. So I hammered them with value until they spoke to me. It's not like that with fertility.
You're literally strapped in and you've got to ride the current and hopefully you get the end destination that you want.
What a lesson in surrender. It was the first thing that I'd ever met that you can't bulldoze through. And that was one of the biggest challenges. But like any degree of suffering, it can be such a great lesson as well. I am thankful for it for that. Haven't achieved the goal yet, and I might never. It might not be on the cards because worth mentioning, if you're infertile prior to androgen use, you're going to be infertile after androgen use.
Well, if it's primary,
yeah, if it's primary, yeah, which I very highly suspect mine is.
Well, we sat down last week and we were chatting about this, and I, based upon you were on TRT.
I was TRT at 18.
Yeah,
and then before I used any anabolics, like this, how I sort of got into it, you know. And I don't know why that was. Stressful childhood, man. That's what my therapist says.
If your balls were broken in the first place, shall we say?
Yeah, they're not working.
They're not going to work, are they? So
I may have to surrender to my fate. We'll actually find out a week today. And then by the time you next see me, I'll be 40 pounds heavier, blasting 2 grams of tren. Yeah, buddy.
All the mindfulness goes out the window at that point. Just give me the fucking drugs. Man,
I'm turning into Rich Piano version 2.
Give me the fucking drugs.
But anyway, to sum this up into a useful thing for you fertility guys, in a holistic sense, actually, give yourself some compassion. You know, I'm not going to try and turn this into a crying session, but I know how it feels. And I hope that your partner understands as well. It's a very difficult thing to understand. But give yourself that compassion and surrender to the fact that it's out of your control. You can only do what you can do. If you're running the protocol, you're running the protocol. Let the rest fall as it may. It's either in the cards for you or it's not. Life will decide that. Can't do anything about it. Layering in the estrogen stuff, you got the stack design modulation, microdosing starting at 125 units of HCG. You don't need to go over 250 units a day, which sounds so low compared to the way that most people are dosing, but that's what the evidence shows.
It essentially is the same when you break it down across the course of the week, though.
Well, people are doing thousands and thousands.
Yeah.
But if we're looking purely at LH stimulus, you are essentially maximizing it at 250 units a day. Anything north of that, yeah, you're going to have that spillover to FSH. You might as well just be using an FSH analog like HMG at that point. Okay.
What else we got, Joe?
I've got loads of stuff. I wanted to do a little quick exercise with you guys, actually. Anybody watching this?
I'm intrigued. This is all new to me. This is coming in live.
I was thinking about this the other day. Trying to build him... Well, no, I was on a call, actually, with a client. I didn't invent this. I don't think. I've got it from somewhere. We were talking about mindfulness and kind of meditative practice and things like that. And we were actually talking about attention-based training. And I did a video for the app actually the other day on attention-based training for hunger signals. And I think some people struggle to understand, why is that valuable? Now, if I'm going to sit now and meditate, right, and just focus on my breath, why is that useful? And every time my mind wanders, I've got to do that Doghouse chat later. Hold on. Bring it back to the breath. That's like a 1 rep. Every time you bring it back, that's like 1 rep. So let me show you in real time why this is useful. Everybody watching this, I want you to look at this phone. Okay? Now I want you to look at this bottle, really focus on it. Now I want you to really focus on both of them at exactly the same time. It's impossible, yeah? You can't focus on 2 things with all of your focus at the same time. Now, let's say this is what you want to see. This is your work. This is the nature when you're out walking. This is a conversation with a friend. And let's say this is what you have to do later.
Or is it actually your phone?
Oh, yeah. Good point. Phones are literally anti-mindfulness tools. This is Instagram. This is stress. This is fear. This is anxiety. This is, oh, fuck, my fertility goals. You know, is my estrogen too high? This is your pet running up to you, bringing you a little ball. Do you have the musculature to be able to flex that, to put it there? And when it's over here, move it back. When it goes over here, move back. And what happens physiologically there? What fires together, wires together. This isn't just Buddhist practice, although it is. This is real neuroscience. The more times you guide your attention towards an outcome, an experience, or an emotion, the more likely your brain is to present that to you as the default. Like the default mode network is essentially where your automated thoughts are, where your baseline is. So the more often you move your attention to the thing you want it to be on, this can even be visualization based, like we were talking about before. You know, you can visualize something that you really want to happen, you know, something that really makes you happy, or something that makes you, this is why gratitude practices work so well. Think of something you're really grateful for over and over again. But it is like a muscle. Every time you move your attention, it's like a rep. So I just wanted to give that example for people that think, what's the point? That's the point. And you'll find over time, recentering that attention becomes so much easier, even in difficult situations.
I think there's so many practical takeaways. I mean, hopefully you guys have been watching these Doghouses from the start. I hate wanky practice that has no applicability to life. If it's a 4-hour morning routine that has got all this wanky ice bath stuff in there, but there's no ROI, there's no return on investment, I'm not interested. But I've got goals in life, I've got business I want to build, I've got things I want to achieve. It has to give me something back. And meditation, breath work, any sort of mindfulness practice, it gives you so much back. And I speak to coaches all the time. I can't focus. I can't pay attention. My mind's wandering. I'm not able to get my work done. This is a great example of that. If you can just stay locked in on a task, because let's be honest, if you're doing check-ins, you could probably get a day's worth of check-ins done. Most people, probably about 4 hours. If you're delivering great work and you're paying attention, you're there. Most people take 9 hours because they just thoughts everywhere, checking Instagram. If you can stay locked in on the task, you're going to get that done, which means you can get sort of 40, 50, maybe 100% more work done across the course of the day, or you can leave the work as it is and enjoy the rest of the day more. So you have an option there. But at the moment, you're a slave to your environment rather than you being in control. And this is a tool that gives you immediate control. So why not use it?
Yeah, it's not about being more relaxed. It's not about making yourself feel a certain way. It's about being able to be 100% focused on only the thing that you're doing. Like, can you say that when you walk, you just walk? How many people have got the podcast going? Audiobook going? can you say that when you sit and eat, that all you do is eat? Can you actually do one thing at a time? How challenging is it to do one thing at a time?
Well, I mean, so I went out for dinner with some friends on Friday and hadn't seen them in a while. And it was an amazing restaurant, beautiful place to catch up. And I've been guilty of this before, where you're checking your phone when you're with your friends, you're doing things that take away from that experience. You're not savoring the food, you're not savoring the experience. And you leave there going, I wasn't really there. And you've diminished your time with people. You were looking forward to this thing, and then you haven't fully appreciated the thing because you weren't paying attention to it. That's something I've definitely experienced before, and it feels pretty shit. Imagine going on holiday and spending the entire time on holiday thinking about being at home. You wouldn't enjoy the holiday, but you're doing that in everything that you do across the day to day. It's something I've been guilty of, and since incorporating a lot more meditation. And again, I only do 10, 15 minutes a day, so it's not a huge number, but it's getting them reps. And
there was a recent study, because you're cutting across just briefly, because you mentioned 10 minutes a day. You know, how long is enough? There was a recent study where participants meditated for 10 minutes per day, and 4 days was sufficient to structurally change what's happening in the brain. So after 4 days, your brain will start to change. And what are those changes? We tend to see a shrinking of the amygdala, which is the emotional sort of response center. It's where fear, anxiety, stress is projected from. So, you know, I'm sure everybody watching this, if I said, well, if I could dampen your response to stress, could you get more work done? Could you enjoy the work more? Could you train harder?
Would you feel better?
Would you sleep better? So yeah, only 4 days, 10 minutes a day, you know, and meditation, I won't yammer on about this too much. Anybody that is interested in the mindfulness stuff, just go to my Instagram or drop me a DM, because this is what I really love to do at the moment. But it doesn't have to be sat there doing nothing. There's Qigong practices, which is a moving meditation. There's walking meditations that you can listen to on Insight Timer. But, you know, for the people that say, oh, I can't just sit there, you're the exact person that needs to do it. You know, because that tells us that your attention muscle, your brain's everywhere else. You know.
Well, it's quite funny actually, because some days my work piles up. I know I wake up and I know I've got work to do, and I'll train first thing. I'll come back, and that's when I usually do my meditation. And there's always that little voice in my head that says, "Oh, it's going to take too long. You get to work." And it's those days I don't do it, and I don't listen to the good voice in my head. It's the days I'm always less productive. It's always the days it drags on, and I think, fuck, if only I'd done the thing I knew I was supposed to do in the first place, how much quicker I'd have got this done at the back end. Yeah. So we're not trying to shill meditation here. This is not like I am shilling meditation. It's not a thing we're trying to sell to anyone.
I mean, mindfulness in general is just so much more than meditation, and this is just a world that I wish the West would get deeper into. And they are, you know, it's raising in popularity, you know, but nothing short of life-changing, life-improving outcomes are going to be resultant from you putting as much time and attention into this as you do with your training, your nutrition. It's literally the same thing as rest physiologically. You know, when you lay on the sofa, meditation's like that for your mind. You need to clear the mind at some point and practice that if you want to function and feel your best. Anyway, on to some more.
Go on.
Less esoteric stuff. You're the man to talk to about this. Common question, heart rate zones for cardio and fat burning, we should say fat oxidation, / caloric expenditure. Is there any value in physique athletes? We'll do physique athletes first, tracking heart rate zones on cardio, and then we'll do performance-based athletes after that.
I think for physique athletes, I like to loosely track, only to ensure that we're not pushing the intensity up such that it's going to interfere with everything else. Now, one thing I'll say is, when I say interfere, I think everyone gets this interference effect blown up in their mind, where essentially we're going to have two competing two competing energetic systems. You're going to have your mTOR and AMPK. Really, really simple. You're going to have your muscle building, and you're going to have your endurance adaptations. And they're somewhat going to fight each other, okay? Which is why you're not going to have some guy who's got maximum peak musculature and maximum fitness. Something has to give. You can't serve all your masters. So there's going to be a level of interference. The level of interference comes from really how much endurance work you are doing. So if you're doing 20 minutes of cardio 3 times a week or something like that, and it's relatively moderate intensity, you're not going to lose all your gains. I think we've established that pretty clearly. And in those instances, I like to keep an eye on heart rate and sort of say, you know what, between 130, 150 and that kind of somewhat just above, maybe like we'd say above zone 2 type level, would just kind of make sense because it's enough to get some cardiac and aerobic adaptations, which is stuff we want. So you're actually going to increase the output of your heart. You're going to increase your mitochondrial efficiency, which is kind of a bit of a buzzword at the moment. Your ability to utilize oxygen, capillary density, all things which are going to help your recovery as well. You're going to be in that kind of zone, but you're not going to be so. It's not going to be so hard that you're going to be tapping into your recovery reserves. So if someone's always doing HIIT cardio, which is absolutely great, by the way, please don't think I'm saying it's not, you're probably going to cause more impact in terms of your recoverability than you would with some moderate intensity stuff, all things being equal. Again, I like HIIT cardio. I incorporate it with a lot of my guys just for a time efficiency standpoint, but minute per minute, it's probably a bit more fatiguing.
You've just started training jiu-jitsu.
I have, yeah.
So for the first time since the last Doghouse, you now have 2 martial arts experts.
Expert in about 20 years for me, I think.
So how are you now balancing your cardio with your jiu-jitsu practice?
So I'll be honest, I'm keeping my cardio as it is, and I'm using the
And what is that?
So I just do 2 or 3, again, depending on my recoverability, 2 or 3 times 30 minutes across the course of the week, and one of them will incorporate some intervals in there. So one of them will incorporate some high intensity interval work.
So you'll build that into the 30 minutes?
Yes.
Maybe you finish with that or something?
I do 5 minutes, do that, and then I do the intensity work, and then I'll go into the steady state stuff.
And what do you like for sprints?
I typically go on the assault bike, and I do about...
See, I've just bought one.
They're really good.
Yeah.
They're really good because it's the only thing I can get my heart rate up to that higher level. Because otherwise my legs just get absolutely fried on the bike and I can't get my heart rate quite up. So I'll do like 30 seconds, absolute flat out.
That's hard on the
It's horrible, yeah. I'll do that flat out, get my heart rate up as literally as high as I can get it. And then I'll take between sort of 40 to 60 seconds to bring my heart rate back down to baseline and go again. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of auto-regulating that recovery.
Yeah, I like the 1
time.
to 2.
Yeah,
Works
it tends to work quite well because I just like to have that increased. We're getting towards that kind of aerobic threshold, higher intensity type work, which I think is a good amount to have in there. But most of the time, I'm sat in that kind of 130, 150. I think some zone 2 work would be good, but I don't honestly think I've got time for it. Just in terms of walking and things like that.
Yeah.
And that for me, I'm getting the adaptations I want in terms of utilizing oxygen, heart rate, heart health as well, which is very important. Those are things I like to incorporate. Then I'm using the BJJ as its own form of fitness because it's very specific, obviously. And honestly, I'm not someone who likes cardio. So I'm making sure I've got enough cardio in to kind of act as a foundation, then stacking the BJJ on top. And that seems to be working well, although I am fucking gassed at the end
How
of the
many
session.
times a week you training BJJ now?
3.
Yeah, you know what? 3 is probably a good one to go in at as like a beginner. I went straight in with 5.
Yeah,
and I
don't
struggled.
think I
I did adapt, but I struggled. Now I float. I do like 3 or 4, and I think that. And I do cardio every day. So on the days I don't do jiu-jitsu, I was running, but I've got a knee injury, which is why I bought that assault bike. Tell you what the thing with that assault bike is though. I don't know if I can do long duration cardio on it.
It's because you're quite narrow in it.
No, it's not painful. I feel like I can't get my heart rate up unless I'm booting it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'll just keep your hands on it.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. Because like when I was running, I'd run 45 minutes to an hour at like 140, 150. On that.
Do you interval or do you go steady state on that? Running?
I've done both. I was mostly just doing steady state at the end.
I typically prefer for bigger guys more like tempo runs where you'll do like faster, then you'll walk a bit, but your heart rate on
Well,
average
I did that for a
will
long
stay.
time.
Yeah.
But I love going out on a long run.
What's wrong with you?
Is when you get past that hump, it feels real good, man.
What you can do, and I think it's a really good, we're going a bit off on a tangent here, what works really well for kind of bigger guys like yourself, especially if you've got injury, is doing some form of like tempo where you do a bit of time on the bike, you come off, you do a circuit of like some body weight stuff, like some
maybe I'll do that.
maybe some press ups, some sit ups, some med ball throws or something, which is all relevant, but it's going to get your heart rate up and keep it there, because it's not necessarily it has to be a modality or has to be continuous, but your heart rate is going to be up there. So you can sort of chop and change through a circuit, if you will, keep your heart rate into the kind of the approximate zones that you want to be. Obviously, you don't want to be flirting with the anaerobic threshold and feeling like you're going to throw up. But doing this work, that's all going to give you that adaptation, but it's going to give you almost more of a kind of specific adaptation because you're using different muscle groups and you're getting kind of whole body movement, which is quite nice to have.
Yeah, well, you've come to the point that I was going to mention with the original question, which is specificity. You know, that's what ultimately all of this comes down to. When somebody asks about heart rate zones and bodybuilders, the question always is, why are we doing the thing in the first place? You know, if it's purely caloric expenditure and you're not after positive aerobic adaptations, or you're not after saving time or anything, just don't do it. Just like go and do some steps.
Yeah.
You know, get outside in nature, get some sunlight, you know, whatever. That's going to be the lowest fatigue option. That's not me saying that you shouldn't do cardio.
But if you're only looking at it through that lens.
Yeah, if someone said to me, like, I don't care about cardiac health or aerobic adaptations, I just want to expend calories and I've got all the time in the world, I'd say just do steps then, you know, just walk outside ideally.
You're probably going to get a decent level, like especially if you're getting bigger and you're just doing steps, you're probably still getting a decent amount of, probably at that size, you're probably still getting like zone 2 from that. And you like getting enough of that across the course of the week, you're probably going to be okay. When it comes to more specific things for like BJJ, having different energetic systems stacked on top of each other, so you like getting some good foundation, like cardiac, aerobic work, some more higher intensity stuff, some actual sport specific stuff from your actual grappling, all that stuff's going to really contribute each other. But I think this is where people, and I'm from the S&C background, people look at things, how can we make this as specific as possible? It's like, well, do the sport that you're trying to get better at, but build up a really big foundation from the ground up, have a big engine, and then make it more specific. But yeah, I think I'm definitely in that adaptation point at the moment because my heart rate has actually gone up like 15 beats a minute on average.
Yeah.
So like my resting heart rate has gone up from like sub 60 to in the 70s, and I'm going, fucking hell, I'm obviously a bit fatigued here.
Yeah. Mine still floats like 44, 46.
Yeah, because mine was super high for a while after my AF experience. So after AF, once I'd fallen out of being tachycardic, I was still at 80 beats per minute. And over the last, it's been about 18 months since that episode, it's taken me, probably about 18 months, maybe about 16 months to get it below 60. So and that was me doing cardio every single week, dropping down. But as I've introduced more cardio, obviously my body's very stressed at the moment. I can feel that, very fatigued all the time. I must be getting some adaptations, but it's being kind of masked by stress on the physique. So I'm waiting for that to kind of resolve, wash off, and then I should hopefully see some nice cardiac improvements.
Talking about stress, the last thing for us to go through here, we've got about 10 minutes left, is you must get this question a lot because I do. Just favorite supplements for lowering cortisol, right? So I should start this one by saying you might want to look at your blood cortisol first before you start implementing supplements that have a large impact on cortisol. Some people I find confuse like cortisol lowering with GABA action, you know, because it's associated with calming. Reducing your cortisol will definitely be calming if it's high. Low cortisol can cause quite a bit of anxiety if it's like deficient. And I think, you know, when people complain of anhedonia, which is like the lack of ability to feel pleasure and things like that anymore from ashwagandha, you know, like numb emotionally, detached, blah, blah, blah. I think these are probably people that just had normal or low normal cortisol and started using ashwagandha and slammed it into the floor.
I always ask them how they feel in the morning, because if you can't get up in the morning, and let's say I'm talking if you've got all your ducks in a row,
It's a good test.
if you can't get yourself up in the morning and you're like really like a zombie getting out of bed and it's continuous, the likelihood is you're probably not getting sufficient morning cortisol to actually wake you up. And if you're consistently dampening it, I had a client the other day, he was like, I can't get up, I feel fucked all the time. And I said, just remove ashwagandha, remove all these things. And he was like, fuck, I can actually wake up.
Yeah.
And he was probably one of the ones like Joe was saying.
Yeah. Yeah, like I had my blood cortisol done the other day in the morning on the adrenal blood panel from Atlas. And it was like slightly above the middle of the range. And I use KSM 66 in the evening and the morning, and phosphatidylserine evening and morning, and CBD, and frequently use Kava, which slams down cortisol. Everything in the Support Max Neuro PM, man, the amount of supplements that I use that reduce cortisol, and I was still kind of like above halfway through. It's like if I didn't take all of those things, man, holy moly, I'd feel terrible. But you're right, the morning test is good. Like I wake up in the morning ready to fucking go.
Yeah.
Like half an hour before my alarm, without fail, I'm there and I am awake. No, I would quite like to be a bit more tired in the morning.
I like it in the summer, it's so easy. In the winter, a little bit harder, obviously, for obvious reasons. Sunlight's not coming through the window, but yeah, it's...
I would like to be able to sleep into my alarm, and I would like to be a bit more rested. A bit more like, I'd like to walk the dog and be like, you know what I mean? Because now I'm like, you know, but yeah. So anyway, back to the point. Maybe make sure you need them first. But the number one most well-researched supplement that has potent impacts on cortisol is, of course, ashwagandha. I prefer the KSM 66 form. Some people get on well with Sensoril. I wouldn't use anything outside of the patented forms. No. KSM 66 are, 500-600 milligram in the PM, or 500-600 milligram in the PM and AM. Works nice.
I wouldn't put anything above that, to be honest. I think it is...
That's probably sufficient.
My fave.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were talking about dosing. Yeah. Ashwagandha. There's some mad ashwagandha fear-mongering right now on social media. Craziness. People suggesting that it's a serotonergic mechanism that is causing like these PSSD side effects. There's no good evidence for that. There's some rodent studies where they give them unreal amounts of like ashwagandha root. Like, I think it's just people that don't need more GABA action and don't need less cortisol. People that are probably unmotivated and lazy anyway, the kind of people that are trawling the nootropics Reddit, looking for something to jack them up. That is the populace. And then they take ashwagandha and then they're even more demotivated.
I also think if you look at the people that we're dealing with, they're pretty much the kind of type A personalities, 100%. People that want to go.
Yeah.
And the hardest thing for people to do is switch off. And giving them something like, I mean, obviously, listen, we're sponsored by Strom. I think Support Max Neuro PM is probably the best cortisol management tool. If you want to call it
also
that.
has phosphatidylserine, which is one that doesn't get enough mention. A great, I would consider, nootropic molecule when it comes to like clarity of mind. It does reduce cortisol well. So yeah, I really like phosphatidylserine, KSM 66, like you said.
It's got lemon balm, L-theanine, like everything in there.
Yeah, L-theanine is excellent for shifting down glutamate, which is only going to help with stress reduction.
I mean, I just say just take that, because the individual products are great, but it's the easiest thing in the world. And I'll be honest, I just dry scoop it at the end of the day. That's my go-to.
Don't be afraid to take the Neuro in the AM as well.
Yeah, you were saying about that earlier. I've never done
the
that.
Neuro, man. I take my ashwagandha in the morning, my phosphatidylserine, my lion's mane.
It's not a bad shout. I always take lion's mane every morning, so I don't see any reasons to not take that. I think it'd be quite helpful, because when I get back from the gym, especially after legs at like 5 a.m.,
you're
like
quite
cooked, yeah. And you don't want to take that. I have to be very careful what days I train legs in relation to check-ins.
Yeah, it's hard to do check-ins. Like check-ins for me, you have to be okay. You want to talk to your clients
beforehand.
Yeah, I do as well. You have to eat, meditate, and whatnot. Recenter yourself. CBD is another supplement that
I've never taken it.
I use it. The amount of things that it does. I did a post on my Instagram the other day for people that are interested. The amount of things that it does is insane. Pushes up parasympathetic activity, pushes up GABA, drops down cortisol. some PPAR action.
Any negatives?
No,
I've never ever looked into it.
You know, and you can dose it in like the 25 milligram up to 100 milligram range. It can be a bit expensive. Like if you were going to do 100 milligram a day, which is a lot, maybe cost you £100 a month.
And is that sublingually?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do that. You can do 50 milligram. You can do 25 milligram. It works really well. I like using that in the morning before check-ins.
Yeah.
And then like in the afternoon before I go jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Yeah. And I do notice an effect that's far more than placebo. Like the first time I ever got it, I took 50 milligram just to see if I'd really notice something. And I really did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to give it a go.
Works, man. Two lesser known cortisol reducing supplements would be vitamin C at a gram. Significantly shifts down cortisol. I've actually got Lipid Max in this shaker. It's got a gram of vitamin C in. So that's one. Taurine is another supplement that I think is just fantastic. Highly underrated supplement.
Thankfully, everything's got taurine in.
Yeah.
So
Hydromax has got 5 grams. You want to get at least 3 grams of taurine in, really. I love taurine for its impacts on GABA. You know, it looks like it's a positive allosteric modulator of GABA. Antioxidant, so very calming for the nervous system. So they'd be my, you know, if you can get Support Max Neuro PM's got taurine in it, but if you have Hydromax with some Support Max Neuro PM, some Lipid Max with proper Stromshell in now.
I mean, to be fair, I have Lipid Max, Support Max, Neuro PM, and Glutathione Max every night before I go to bed.
Yeah, you want to put the glycine in there.
Yeah, I need to get the glycine. You're right. I need to get the glycine in there.
Or 4 grams of glycine.
That just knocks me out.
Yeah.
I've never struggled to get to sleep in my life.
No, I fall asleep straight away, and I wake up
Rested.
Yeah. Ready to go.
Yeah, I also think that just having, any client of mine that's listening to this will know how much I bang on about circadian rhythm. I think if you are someone who's looking for stress management, I genuinely believe it starts there. Have a good circadian rhythm, good sleep cadence, all those things will make the biggest fucking impact to your productivity, how you feel. Everything that you do is going to flow downstream with your circadian rhythm. And even if you just look at it from a simple sleep-wake cycle, not looking at nutrient timing, which I am a big proponent of, to be honest, it will make a big difference to your stress management also.
Absolutely, yeah. Right, we've covered loads of topics in this one.
And we've announced that I'm now doing BJJ and getting my ass kicked by everyone currently.
Yeah, jam-packed. We'll have to get some BJJ footage for the YouTube channel at some point.
Joe's got 2 years ahead of me at this point.
Well, all 3 of us now do jiu-jitsu. I started first, and then it was Jake, and then it was Matt. But imagine if we go rolling, you 2 cook me up, man.
It's not going to happen right now. Fuck me.
I'm going to quit.
I've got constant pain in my forearms because I've got the white belt death grip going on. And I've just got everything hurts, but I'm enjoying it. I tell you what, it's I've got one. We'll finish this. I've got real positive from BJJ and one negative. The positive is that the community is so friendly, and it's actually quite a nice departure from bodybuilding, where there's obviously quite a lot of...
The BJJ culture is like really funny, jokey, and
everyone's
friendly.
got good banter. Yeah. Everyone will be like... It's obviously everyone's trying to win during a round necessarily, but it's not done in a nasty way. It's almost like you're just an object that they're trying to do something to. They're not trying to like...
That's a good way of
hurt you. They're trying to like win the game sort of thing. And you're trying to do the same. You're not viewing them as like some bad or good person. You're just like, and there's always this is my couple weeks into it sort of thing. The negative I'd say is there isn't really like, from my experience, they're not in my club, but I've seen this with various different people saying this, there isn't really like a success path. I mean, like, I think when you start...
A lot of clubs are like that. And I think that's why that like HPU coaching is doing so well.
Well, I mean...
Luckily, my club did do that. Like, so... When we joined, it was the beginning of, so every Wednesday is like beginners. Yeah. It was the beginning of, learn jiu-jitsu from the ground up.
Yeah.
And then I've gone every Wednesday since, and it's followed that. But I also go to all the other classes. But I suppose if someone came now on a Wednesday, they'd be like, what the fuck?
Well, they're doing, to be fair, there is a beginner's gi class starting in August as they move to a new place. But what I found is they almost kind of, obviously, they're not going to just cater it for me. So it's that. But I think in and you see this within bodybuilding as well, people just assume that you know things. So someone's like, oh, let's fix your squat. And it's almost like going, what's a squat?
Yeah.
And I've seen that a bit within this. They're going, oh, this position. I'm going, what the fuck is that? How have I ended up here? I don't know. So there's like the community aspect is phenomenal. The learning thing, I think there's going to have to be quite a lot of self-directed learning.
I think part of that is because you're going to a really busy club as well.
Probably that. But
So you
everyone,
won't get as much attention.
everyone's been super nice, and a lot of the kind of the higher up belts have been very generous with their time to kind of help me out on things.
It'll click, man. Trust me.
Yeah.
You'll go one day and be like, "Oh yeah, somehow I know all this."
So I've just been kind of trying to absorb it like a sport. But I can see why people say it's the sport for kind of athletic nerds, because you just there's a
Autism
lot
and
going.
steroids.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, it's like the most complex game of chess.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
why it's fascinating. And there's no end. You can't.
No.
You don't complete jiu-jitsu.
No.
You know.
Well, what I like about it as well is, you know, you talk about meditation where you can just be present. You can't not be present doing it.
Forced mindfulness. I've got a
Yeah.
video coming on this.
As a good or a bad
Forced
thing.
mindfulness. Very good thing.
I really like it.
Yeah, if you're forced to have your mind full of the present moment, that's excellent. Anything
Yeah.
that's away from rumination is
Well,
great.
the thing I like the most is, left to my own devices, I'm sat at my desk for 14 hours. Right, I'm going to be sat there working because I do enjoy working, but I'm also aware that is not how you're meant to live your life. So I think something that drags me away from that for a bit, almost have something to look forward to, is really powerful.
Definitely. Right. Beautiful, guys. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Share this on Instagram to let us know that you got this far.
And sign up.
And sign up to the app, of course, please. If you're getting value from these, we'd love if you could help us out and sign up to the
I've
app.
had a lot of people sign up recently as well, which is very nice to see some new faces in the forum asking questions. Joe and I are on there every day answering questions. And obviously, we welcome anyone there.
Yeah. So thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Peace out.